Welcome to another fine edition of It's a Sports Show number 137. For those of you who are keeping track at home, we have a lot to talk about today. Brett Myers, the wife beater, Major League Soccer, of course, but most importantly, the Red Sox. I'd like to bring into the show Dolphin Paul as usual, and look who's sitting on the side of us. It's
Special guest today.
Mr. Eagle himself, John K. Turner. What's going on, John?
Nothing else to do, so I figured I'd drop in and see what you guys are up to.
What's a special edition, you know, being that nice even number 137 is a.
Well, I thought 135 would have been.
Every once
Everybody
in a
does
while,
things
John
on like
drops in.
150 and stuff. No,
He
no,
gives us his
137.
knowledge.
Yeah, he's
Every
got
once in a
knowledge.
while,
I'm
he
only
drops.
here for the color.
What's
That's it.
funny is
Hey,
that
listen,
we're
he
not
said that
talking
Terrell Owens
NFL
was
today.
a bad apple 3 years ago.
yeah,
I saw it.
hey,
I've got a lot of respect for him.
Well, see, I racked on him because he left the Niners and went to the Eagles, but now, of course, he's gone.
I've never been a Niners.
Whoops.
Terrell, really? Already?
Well,
Hey,
see, me and John, we kind of stick with the same teams. Scott, he floats around a little bit, so I don't think he can keep track.
Float around. I love the
By the way,
Cincinnati Bengals
I just want to
and
make a
Niners
quick correction. As you
Patriots.
know, it's really not Major League Soccer, but World Cup
Is
soccer.
that what I said? Major League Soccer?
I just want to make a correction for the folks who are trying to learn the process and the game.
Yes.
Yeah,
Have
I'm sure
knowledge
there's
of
a
what's
lot of
going
them in this country doing that. We'll get into that in a little bit. We'll also talk about Brett Myers, as I mentioned. But first, the Red Sox, 9 in a row now, as of the time we're taping this show. It's the longest winning streak
This year.
This year, and as the time we talk. The 2.5 behind the Yankees, which is 2.5 is like almost unheard of at this point to be ahead of the Yankees. And then, of course, 4 above Toronto. Red Sox are just playing some great baseball. Manny's coming around, and David Ortiz, as usual, being Mr. Hero, as he always is, twice in a row.
Twice.
At
2
this
games.
point.
One with a walk-off home run, one with a walk-off single. If we could all do that, we'd all be playing for the Red Sox.
It's unbelievable. What do you guys think of the Red Sox streak right now? Does it worry you that at some point they'll end up in a maybe 9-game losing streak, or do we not even think about that and be happy with taking games above those Yankees at this point?
Well, I'll tell you, a couple weeks ago, I was almost ready to write off the Red Sox, believe it or not. No,
As
listen.
usual. As usual.
No, when they were struggling there with that pitching staff,
Yep.
all right, when they had lost a few games and the middle relief was terrible, and Beckett was kind of, he had a couple off games there, I said, you know what, until this pitching staff gets fixed. Remember, they weren't hitting. I kind of said, there's no way this team is going to win the
You're
East.
such a pendulum.
No,
you
no.
sway as the
No,
summer
listen,
goes
I'm not a pendulum
on.
guy, but
but look what they had to depend
It's an
upon.
impressive
for the
streak.
pitching
I
staff.
understand that,
I mean,
but
they
when you
were Tavares and the other guy.
Well, when you're saying that, you're looking to write them off in favor of who? Because it's not just the fact that they were playing bad. That means that someone else has stood up. Hasn't been Toronto, and it hasn't been New York, so why not?
I didn't mean to write them off. They were going to drift to last place. I mean, I think all of us right now, our expectations are somewhat thinking maybe the Red Sox have a chance to be a championship team.
Right.
That's what I meant by write them off. They didn't look like a championship team to me because of their pitching. And I don't think, we can talk about me saying that I was going to write them off, but I don't think a lot of people would have predicted that they'd go on this terrific streak. I mean, they're playing some great ball. They're getting the pitching. Papelbon, unfortunately, he's downhill. His ERA blew up last night.
Right.
He's now probably a .30. We figured out
went from
.30. He's man, that ERA is out of control.
Bad news for Papelbon.
But I'll tell you, I'm surprised by the way they're playing, and I know we're kind of jumping around a bit, but you mentioned Big Papi.
Yep.
I mean, I'm kind of afraid of his success because of I mean, it's almost expected on a nightly basis, which is real
when
scary.
He came up to bat the 9th inning, they're down. It was tie game. He comes up to bat, and everybody's figuring, well, here he is. He's got to make that clutch, and he doesn't. And everybody starts, oh well, and we're all just waiting for him to go through the lineup again and maybe get back up to bat and get another shot. And sure enough, I mean, they go down 1 run, the top of the 12th, they get a nice hit, guy from third scores, we're down, and it reminds me of that game that Tavares was pitching a couple of weeks ago, same reverse situation. We were up by 1, and he gets up, and then, of course, he gives away that grand slam. And, last night now, the Phillies are up by 1. We're coming back. We've got to come back to the bottom of the 12th. We've got Coco Crisp on base, and who comes up? Our leadoff batter, Euclid. He makes that nice double. Coco Crisp scores. Another batter gets up. It's 2 outs. Big Papi gets up, and he's reaching for where nobody. I mean, he's playing golf, and he puts that one in a perfect spot.
That's it.
I wasn't sure if they were going to walk him there. That was kind of a judgment call. I guess you don't walk him because of a pass ball or something.
Right.
But then again, I mean, the disadvantage the Red Sox have, you walk Big Papi and you bring up an RBI machine.
You bring it up.
You know, he
Manny
might not
Ramirez.
hit a home
Especially
run,
right
but
now, Manny's been hot. And
He's
like
been
you said,
hot.
he's an RBI machine throughout the year. Imagine Poppy's success, and Manny hadn't played that well for the most part throughout the year. At least not in
he
terms
hasn't been
of
as
Manny
consistent,
Ramirez.
right? As consistent,
Until
but
within the past
But
week.
he's starting to come back around again. He's
Now think
found
about
his swing
this.
again. He's looking good.
Right. We've won 9 in a row. The pitching staff has pitched well, but Manny's on a tear. And let's not forget that midway through this 9-game streak, about 5-6 games ago, Tito there mixed up, I shouldn't say messed up because he did a good thing. He mixed up the batting order a little, took Coco Crisp down in the batting order and threw Euclid back in there, mainly not as a knock towards Crisp, but because Euclid was playing so much better in that leadoff spot.
Well,
Look what
and he's the
happens.
best leadoff hitter right now in the entire, National Football. Yeah, National Football.
Talking like it's Major League Soccer.
he's a great hitter.
There we go. He's a great hitter for the
It's the
football
days of
team.
Bo Jackson. He's
That
playing
pass
both.
that McNabb threw to him was unbelievable. Euclid.
I'll tell you,
caught
he
it.
could probably play football.
He caught it
you
for a
know.
home run. But no, he's the best leadoff batter in Major League Baseball right
yeah.
now. So you got to leave him there.
It's funny that we talk about Euclid because Big Papi wouldn't have been a hero if it wasn't for Euclid.
Right.
And he's right. I'll tell you right now, flat out. I know you're going to say I'm a pessimist. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but I did not think Euclid was going to contribute in any way, shape, or form in the manner that he is. I thought he was a utility player at best.
Right.
I mean, we saw him come in spots. I said, okay, Euclid, yeah. I thought he was like a Graffinino type, maybe. I mean, the guy is really stepped up his game. And
taking over first base.
I mean, if he didn't get that
Right.
hit, I mean, obviously, Big Papi will.
So you're going against
great
the grain.
base running. He got to second.
Absolutely.
Your thoughts were going against the grain of what most Boston Red Sox fans thought. He's a huge fan favorite last year.
Yeah, but you
and a
know
lot
Red
of
Sox
people
fans,
thought
when a
he
guy
was
gets a couple of
capable.
hits, he's a hero. I'm talking about a guy playing every day.
Right.
People, let's face it, the Red Sox, they love the hard-working Trot Nixon types. That's
Absolutely.
been documented. But I just thought, I had no problem with it. I didn't dislike him. He always hustled. I just didn't think, he's batting over 300.
Yep.
He's getting key hits. Like John said, he's coming up, good base running. He just turned out to be
Good base running, but
a
no
welcome
speed.
surprise.
That's the only thing about Chris being out of that leadoff spot that you typically want in your lineup. You want that fast guy to be first in the
And
order.
you want him to be able to go for steals, but even so, when Coco Crisp has been out there, he's been caught a couple of times where he shouldn't
True.
have been caught. So maybe it's fortuitous that they have dropped him back to the 8th spot. Kept
Did you just say
Euclid up there.
fortuitous?
Fortuitous. This is
That's
new.
why we've got
This
John
is new
here.
here. It's a
That's
We
John.
would have
Only
said
for the
it's really not stupid to have
Right.
him there. I'm telling you,
I mean, if he
John.
says fortuitous, we're asking, do you want an apple or an orange? What do you mean fortuitous?
Absolutely. So Coco Crisp doing his thing in his part of the lineup about as well as what Euclid is doing in his. And you kind of got the lulls mixed in there, and you've got everybody knock
I'll
on
tell you
wood.
what, there's a guy that needs to be mentioned too, is Gonzalez,
Yes.
who,
yes.
although he
What's
had
his average up to?
well,
While
his,
you talk?
his average right now is 260, but it was so low a month ago.
That was around
I'm
224.
psyched
It
at
was bad.
260.
So
I was
he
thinking
did a lot of
240, 245.
No, he did a lot of
He'd
hard
be
work.
fine.
In the month of May and June, I believe he was batting the last 30 games. They came up with a stat 3 change. So
Yeah.
he's turned it around, and we all know about his defensive
Oh,
prowess.
you know
Everybody
what?
says, Schillen even went so far to say he could be one of the best defensive shortstops
Yes.
he's ever seen. So this guy he came up.
This
so
whole infield is entertaining to watch.
You know,
You've watched them turn the
And-
double
and-
play
and
like it's no
even
one's
with
business.
like an Alex Gonzalez, you take him out, give him a day off, you put Cora in there. It's like
which is not bad.
you're not losing but a
Right.
half a step at most, and he's still got a good bat. And like Alex and Alex their bats are coming around. They're starting to hit very well. They're coming up with the clutch hits. I mean, you put these guys at the bottom of the order, and you're from top to bottom.
And think
You've got
about this:
guys who
they
are hitting.
replaced almost their whole infield.
Yeah, just
Mike
about.
Lowell batting over 300. Mark Loretta batting over
Loretta,
300.
Euclid, not almost. They really did redo
They
their
did.
entire
They
infield.
did, yeah.
Even though Euclid was already on the team, he's now the starting first
yeah.
baseman. So
I mean, and then they drafted Snow. I mean, they drafted, but they brought Snow in to be playing first base, and he hasn't had any time. Now he wants to go, which I don't blame him. But,
Right.
you know,
They're slowly putting in these young pitchers too. Hanson finally got a win. It's going to take a little time for these guys to get going.
Right.
But I'll tell you, I'd love to see them get one more pitcher. If they could find a way to make a trade, even give up
gonna
a
be tough.
prospect and get just another even starter or a good middle reliever boy.
see,
I'll
in the
tell you,
past, you were competing with the Yankees as far as Manata goes to get those available best pitchers that were out there. This year, it's completely known throughout the league, all of Major League Baseball, that teams are not letting go of their pitchers. Florida,
Exactly.
it does not look like, will let go of Dontrelle Willis after all. They're playing very good baseball, and I got to tell you guys a stat about Florida in a little bit, but the Yankees need the same exact thing that we do, although they've got the injuries compounded on top of that. There is just no pitching. I don't know what. There's a good chance that Boston and New York may walk away after the All-Star break and not obtain any new pitching, and I don't know if that's going to bode
I don't
well.
buy that.
Well,
I really
but
don't.
the
I think
course, the other
eventually
thing
people.
Who do you think's available?
There's not.
Finally, at this time, we have
Schultz
names.
is available, but I mean, they're talking maybe he wants to go back to
Great,
Detroit.
let's add another
you know.
50-year-old to
Well,
the team.
yeah.
That's all we need.
But the thing of it is, the Boston Red Sox have done a wonderful job in developing their pitching. These guys that we are seeing now have come through the Boston organization. They haven't traded for them. They
Right.
haven't made swaps. These guys have come through the Boston Red Sox system. They're showing their worth. I mean, when we started off this year, we had Cianez and Tavares as two of our veteran pitchers, and we've seen what they've done. Zippo, Donata, and, you know, give them the ball, and it's like, okay, it's time to give up the game.
Well, let's
Right.
not mention CNS. I think he should be put out to CNS, to be honest with you. And we talked about this a while back, and early in the year I didn't like him.
Yeah.
I think he's close to being gone. To be
I thought you
honest with
just didn't like his name, Rudy, for some reason.
I like Rudy. One of the
Unbelievable.
greatest movies of all time.
I talked about the
Rudy,
Florida
Rudy.
Marlins. What's the Yankees' payroll? Give you a little trivia.
It's going to be up to close to 200 million, isn't it?
Right. It's. I think it's a slightly above 200 actually. All right. The Florida Marlins payroll, $14.2 million. They only have 9 less wins than the New York Yankees at this point. $14 million.
And the beginning of the year, because I mean, look who we got. I mean, we got Josh Beckett. You
Right.
know, they wholesaled their entire team, but what a move!
They did this before.
Yeah.
And they after their not their last World Series, but the one prior to that, they did this. Everybody said, "What the heck are you doing? You're cashing in." Well, they won the World Series. They rolled it around. They got some new players. They got some games won. They rolled it over again, and now they're doing it again with all these
I
young
think you
players.
can do it.
They're playing well.
I just don't think you can do it every year. I mean,
Not every year.
with a
and they're not
$14
winning
million
World
payroll,
Series
that's
every year.
unbelievable. I mean, they're 7 games under 500, which I guess is pretty good for that payroll. But I mean, $14
You just look at the
million.
comparison of the Yankees' payroll.
Well, let me tell you something. If
That's
the Red Sox
ridiculous.
payroll was $14 million in March, I think you'd be the first one to complain.
Well,
I'm just saying. Don't
I
you agree?
suppose so.
Oh, absolutely.
$14 million? Are you crazy?
Maybe.
I mean, it costs $25 to park. So
Well,
Well,
no,
you
it
park,
better
I
not
can't find
cost.
anything for under
Yeah,
50.
yeah. Where are you paying? If you're paying $50 to park and you're paying, $80 for a hot dog, of course, if they had a $14 million payroll, it wouldn't cost that much.
But 17
Debated,
games over
actually.
500.
Could afford more games that
17 games over 500 is, I mean, I don't think Red Sox fans could
way. It's
ask
well worth the payroll.
anymore.
Oh, that's
'cause,
perfect
you know,
spot to be right
After
now.
all, it is a
I mean,
long season. That's
Yes.
my saying here, John. It's a long season. I
We're
like
up to
say
about
it.
100
You know
times
what?
that he said that now.
It's something that we didn't plan to talk about that I'd like to just throw in and see if it creates any stir.
Uh-oh.
Our man is coming back tomorrow night.
oh yes.
Pedro Martinez.
I heard Kurt Schilling this morning on a radio station, and when he said he was excited to see the best, one of the best pitchers in the National League, I had to think about that for a second, coming, it gives him that much more credit to come from someone like Kurt Schilling, who could easily throw Pedro under the bus and say, the heck with him, I hope they boo him, and it's not going to be the case. I'll
No,
guarantee you
I
the
hope
fans will
I hope
cheer
they give him
him.
a big cheer. I mean, he didn't go like Johnny did. He didn't go to the Yankees.
Right.
He's pitching very well this year. I'm just hoping to see that he can sustain this because we've seen Pedro in the past. I mean, the first
breaks
half of
down.
the season, lights out. As soon as the All-Star break hits, then it's this goes, that goes, and he starts to break down. But I think the past 2 years, he's been maintaining the way that he pitches. He hasn't
Right.
been trying to overpitch himself. And he's learned to locate the ball, and he's become the Pedro Martinez everybody was hoping that he would have been here.
So that it kind of brings up the question. I mean, I think the Red Sox.
Oh,
did
here we go.
Well, no,
Here we go.
I think the Red
Let
Sox
me
did
think.
the
Where
right-
could he be going? Pedro's pitching well, and earlier he said, "Boy, if they had one more pitcher, where could you be going?"
No,
with
no,
this?"
no. I'm just
You're
saying.
not going to say get Pedro.
I'm
You're
just
going to say
saying-
we should still
no.
have Pedro.
Well, no,
I know
no,
that's where you're
no,
going with this.
not really, because I think the Red Sox they banked, they kind of banked on him not breaking down. They didn't want to give him that long-term deal, and I kind of can see their point. But let's face it, it'd be nice. I know you're not a fan of Pedro and his antics and stuff, but it'd be pretty nice to have Pedro right now.
Fruit tree
Yeah, it wouldn't be
loving.
wrong without him.
And
but-
John
Well, I
brought
mean-
up a good point. Any Red Sox fan who doesn't at minimum, give this guy a standing ovation.
Right.
Is a moron. I'll say it right now. I'm sorry.
There you go, folks. Sports show fans.
No doubt about it. I'm calling you out right now.
We're gonna take little clips out
No,
and
I
just
don't-
say, those of you who are Red Sox fans, you're a moron.
If you
We'll
don't,
take out everything in
if
between.
you don't stand up and cheer Pedro, I mean, for what
You
he did
have
for
to.
the organization,
Yes.
I think you have to. I mean, they had a montage on TV of all his different sayings. He was kind of entertaining. I know he had his things about leaving early and the Dominican and all that, but you
and
know,
not working like the rest of Major
I
League
mean, that
Baseball
great
players.
quote,
Yeah.
and that great quote about being in
fruit tree?
the Bambino in the rear end. That was
That
great.
was good. That was classic.
So
yeah.
he's coming back. It's a good night.
That's why
good
we
matchup.
should have kept him for 5 years, because he's an entertaining man. That's why.
He's 7-3 with a
He's in his-
3.05 ERA too.
What did he sign
That's
with-
not too
How
bad.
many years did he sign with the Mets? Was it 4 or 5? Do you guys remember?
He's younger than Kurt Schilling, isn't he?
Well, not most players in Major League Baseball are younger
Well,
than Kurt
you know.
Schilling. Say he signed a 4-year contract. He's in his second year. He had a great first year with the Mets, and now he's on his way with his second year. Although, like you said, he can break down. So we'll see what happens. Let's not forget, though. Yes, he still had a couple of years in him, but he was looking at more than a 2-year contract. Let's see what happens in his 3rd year, and even worse in his 4th year. Same thing with Johnny Damon. He's playing okay. He's hurt right now already, and we're just, not even halfway through the season.
Roger
Same
Clemens
thing with
was over
Damon.
the hill,
Let's see
too.
how he does in
yes.
his 4th and 5th
Roger
year.
Clemens was over the hill too, and he was all
I
done.
picked up Roger on my fantasy team, so he better play darn well for
Roger, your fantasy
Oh, he
team.
came back, didn't he lose yesterday?
He did. I don't think it was yesterday. It was a couple days
Sunday.
ago.
Why didn't you pick
Yeah.
up Phil Niekro while you're at it? Roger, about 45 years old.
It's all right.
But interesting night on Wednesday night, and of course, by the time most people catch a show, they'll have known the result. But
Yep.
I'm looking forward to
One
that.
last thing with
good
Red
pitching
Sox
game.
baseball. John Papelbon, will he recover fine after getting kind of beat up in his last outing? That's what we all wonder. He's had so much success. He knows how to deal with that. He's on a roll. When he hits a bump in the road, how does he react to all this? He is young.
I think he'll be fine. The only concern I had, because I was watching the game last night, I was watching him come off after getting that out in the 8th inning, and he was kind of rolling his shoulder. And I'm not saying that there's an injury there or anything, but I've never seen him do that. When he comes off before, he's always been just coming off, no problem. But last night he's
of
rolling
course.
his shoulder,
That's the,
comes in, gives up that first batter, that
Is
home
that the
run.
automatic, something went on, now I'm hurt sort of thing?
No. I mean, he came in.
pitched
that was
a lot of
bottom
pitches,
the 8th.
too.
He
That's
got
the
guy
old-
out.
Thurman Thomas,
yeah.
when he fumbled, gave it the old arm, and
Yeah.
the
so
old
hurt.
NFL athlete. When you fumble, you look at your shoe.
Yeah, but
with
then
the
you
ball.
got to look at Saturday night. He comes in, he pitches like 33 pitches.
Yeah,
and
that's too much.
That's a lot. Then he comes in. He's asked last night to go, 4 outs. He's pitched a lot. He pitched well into the 30s again last night. I mean, he's pitching a lot.
I
so-
don't think this is the type of situation to put a young guy like that. I mean, they won the game.
Right.
It's not critical. It's not a playoff game. I think if he had maybe 2 or 3 rough closing outings or
Oh, yeah.
blown
I mean,
saves, and
yeah.
you kind of got to test his mentality. But he's young; he can throw.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see.
Yeah, we're not looking to trade him or get
him breaking- yeah,
Better not be.
get rid of him,
I'll tell you
Tom.
that- Well, what happens now?
ERA's
because
almost 1.
the
Get
guy
out.
throws 50 pitches in 2 games. Now you got to sit him for 2 days, and the opposing team knows that. You cannot bring him in after pitching that much in 2 days worth of time. I told you at the beginning of the season when he was starting to be successful, I hope they do not overplay this guy, because towards the end of the year, we're not going to have him. He's going to have a dead arm, and you need him in September to win those final games. You need him in October for the postseason, and they need to think about that now and pace him. I know there aren't many other options to go to, but there's got to be situations where
I
you don't
know,
bring
but
him in.
at the same time, tonight we're starting with Lester. I
Right.
mean, here's a young guy come up through the organization. He's pitching well. Hopefully, he'll be able to get 6, maybe 7 innings. You're not going to expect him to go more than that. Then you've got Del Carmen. You've got Mike Timlin. You've got a couple of guys in the bullpen who've only pitched, a limited amount that can come in, get some good pitching out of them, close out the game. I mean, tonight.
That's where I'd like to see
I think
Timlin.
he'll be
I hate
fine.
to say it. I'd like to see Timlin
I
close
think
out
I-
a couple of these easy games.
I think Timlin's going to be doing that.
I think he'll be fine. I think they'll. I think for Francona overall, I know a lot of people don't like him. I think he does a decent job with.
I don't mind him.
Yeah, with what he's
Won a-
got.
he
I mean,
won a
there's a
World
lot of
Series in
players
the
there.
first year with the Red Sox.
Well,
The guy's a pain
anybody
in my
can
book.
question it after the game, but you're good. There's a lot of in-game decisions that you have to make. So I think they'll be fine. And hey, they're playing great right now. So
Bottom line, Red Sox are awesome. Don't quite forget about Toronto and New York. However, you got Chicago and Detroit somewhere else looking to get that wild
forget about
card.
New York
That's
and
the thing you
Toronto. I
gotta
said
worry
all along
about.
the Red Sox were going to do it.
How many minutes, Mitch? 8. Oh, plenty of
8
time.
minutes.
Let's move on a little across the way in Major League Baseball over to Philly. A lot of questionable things going on. The #1 starter for the Philadelphia Phillies, Brett Myers, was accused and arrested for beating up his wife. Apparently punched her a couple of times and then dragged her by a hair outside in the public. And then less than 36 hours later, started, and this has nothing to do with it, but coincidentally it was against the Boston Red Sox. But the fact that less than a day and a half later, the guy is starting on a baseball team, Brett Myers should be chastised and booed, which he was, and he will be again in Philly when he goes back home tonight. The Phillies should be chastised. The management of the Phillies should be chastised. And final line, where's Major League Baseball in all of this?
Well, you know the biggest problem that we have here? The legal system.
Yep.
I mean, if they do the right thing, the moral thing, and which will eventually be proven to be the legal thing, do it up front, they come out looking like they're supposed to. But in this day and age, when you're dealing with star athletes who have these egos, who can't do anything wrong, you look at it, it's not just baseball, it's football. I mean, look at our young gentleman who's now playing up in Canada because he's not allowed to play down in Florida.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention
Who could
any
that
names.
be?
Who could that be?
Yeah, but let's look at the other side of the coin here.
There is one?
Well,
Let's hear
no,
this.
I'm just going.
Hold on, folks. Dolphin Paul's about to stick up for the wife beater. Let's hear what he has to say. I get chastised on this show left and right.
Certainly not condoning.
Off the set, on the set. Now let's hear what
I'm
you have to
certainly
say
not
to stick up
condoning
for
wife
Brett
beating,
Myers.
but let's look at the facts.
Oh, good. At least you got
Well,
that out of your system.
The facts are that his wife came out to bail him out.
That doesn't
a
mean
few hours
anything.
later, did not press any charges,
that
and we
that
do
goes
have
right along with the fact that
we
he
do
has
have an
control
innocent
over
to
her.
prove.
Well, not only that, but
still-
that's a typical symptom of an abused spouse. They
Absolutely.
refuse to press charges.
Yeah,
The guy's okay.
Yeah, but
he
you can't
just made a
send the guy to
mistake.
jail because his wife shows typical
He
symptoms.
said to $400 bail. That's a joke.
Yeah.
It
For a
doesn't.
millionaire.
Guys, that's not the point. I agree with you. I think the Phillies should have said, in light of what happened, you probably shouldn't start a game.
Right.
But technically, his wife dropped the charges, even though there were witnesses. I mean, technically, it's still it's an alleged beating. I know there were witnesses and everything, but you can't.
It
I mean, you
stinks.
can't punish him if he wasn't even convicted or arrested or anything like that. So, I
He
understand
was
what you're
arrested. He wasn't convicted.
Well, but
I
his
don't
wife,
know, though. What's he going
his
back
wife
to
bailed
court
him out
for?
and she
He has
dropped
to
the
go back
charges.
to court on August 3rd, but he's not going to appear there. His attorney's
That's
gonna
another thing.
appear.
That's another thing. It's a joke.
You
The
know,
judge said he doesn't have to go.
as long as he has representation there. But, you know, Dolphin, this is what I'm getting at. I mean, the wife is an abused spouse. She's following into the typical abused spouse syndrome. You know, they get abused. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to drop the charges. Don't want to press the charges. He's an okay guy. He'll be okay. He'll go to counseling.
Well,
He'll
then
be
that's a
wonderful.
legal system issue because, I mean, if
No, that's a psychological issue. She is a typical battered
yeah, but
wife
John,
syndrome.
she dropped the charges.
Of course she does. All of them.
If she came in and said, you know what, keep his butt in jail and everything, I can see the Phillies saying, hey, you know what? I mean, she came in and dropped the charges, no harm done in her eyes or in the legal system's eyes. I mean, you can't. You know, we still have,
whole
unfortunately, like
situation
you said, the
stinks.
legal system, you're innocent until proven
Guilty.
guilty. Everything's alleged. You've got to go through the process. I mean, obviously, if he went through the process and
So if she dropped the charges, okay,
He
if
can
that's-
still be a local law enforcement officer, a police officer can still charge him with those, even though she drops the charges. And that's what usually, typically, will happen in an abusive situation. Is the wife will drop the charges, but then it's the police officer who was there.
when
and
the evidence
it's
is there
supposedly,
that she got her
it's
butt
supposedly
whooped.
there were some witnesses too, but I mean, he's in not a foreigner. He's away from his home baseball town, Philadelphia, and there was witnesses from another team, fans of other team, and like I said, his wife came in, dropped the charges. So I don't know how much they could do. I mean,
Yeah, but the fact that he has to go back to court means that, like John's saying, even if she dropped the charges,
He's still
law
innocent till proven
enforcement
guilty.
still feels there's an issue there. Still, he should not have been pitching that
okay,
start.
so who's going to enforce that? By who? By whose law?
That's not a law. Major League Baseball and the Phillies
make
could
their
do
own
whatever the
rules,
heck
yeah.
they want.
They make their own
If this guy is going
Okay,
back
so
to
Major
court,
League Baseball is going to suspend him against one of the
I
most
think it was up
powerful
to the
unions
Phillies
in
to
the
sit.
United States.
I think it was up to the
I
Phillies
agree with
to
you.
sit.
I think the Phillies could have
It's not
said,
an
in
appeal.
lieu of the situation, I know everything's alleged. I thought he should have skipped the start, but technically, I don't know if they have that power. I mean, believe me,
like
I
you said,
agree with
you're
you
going
guys.
against the
I
strongest
agree with
union
the
in the
premise,
country.
but I'm just saying, let's just look at this from a legal point of view. I mean, I'm not a legal
Dolphin
analyst,
Paul,
but
fan of Brett Myers.
No, that's not true.
That's what I get out
Don't
of
pay
this.
me with a Scott Cray brush.
Oh, don't go there. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Remember something, okay? Remember I said this. ESPN highlights, you're going to watch them. You're going to see Brett Myers take the mound in Philly and get booed. Booed.
Of course he should get booed. I don't think you're saying anything that...
He's guilty. He should be booed. He shouldn't even be starting. Hey, how much time we have left, Mitch? 3 minutes.
I want you
is
on my
about-
jury.
3 minutes is about 2.5 minutes longer than I want to talk about Major League Soccer or whatever the heck you call it. What is it? World Cup soccer?
World Cup
So
soccer.
now there's a difference between World Cup soccer.
Well, you see, we're
Major
inbred
League
here.
Soccer.
We don't appreciate the finer things in life. We are the only country in the world that doesn't send. Well, we do now. We've finally gotten up to at least a Class B level team to play soccer. But we're the only country in the world that doesn't, go nuts and go hog wild and
That's
flip over
because,
cars
like we
and-
said earlier in
everything
previous
else.
shows, we have too many. We have so many sports here. I'm not going to say too many. So many compared to other countries, especially when I see like Zimbabwe, where I don't even know what they do on Zimbabwe, but apparently they have soccer. That's everything to them because it's the only sport they have. Whereas
Well, it's also
we have
an
such a
inexpensive
variety.
sport. Look at the sports that we have. I mean, soccer. You need a soccer ball. And that's
Right,
it.
right.
Well, I mentioned that a couple shows ago, John. I
No,
tried to
you said
explain
they
to him
throw
the roots
rocks
of
and a
soccer
bunch of
and what
socks
goes on
in
in
it.
other countries. All I'm saying is, again, the World Cup is a huge event
For everyone.
for those countries
But the
participating.
US.
Countries closed down, and I just want people to understand the magnitude of each game. When a goal is scored, that's like a Super Bowl times 100. I mean, those countries, they shut down, the businesses closed.
Yeah,
they all
because there's no goal scored in a soccer game when you see final scores like 1-0, 2-0, and everybody complains that hockey is so uninteresting.
Oh, you'd rather watch the Red Sox play a 6-hour game like they did the other
At
night?
least there could be something interesting,
Yeah,
whether it's
you could go get an
pitching.
operation and
There
come
are
back
so
and
many
Papa
things
Body's
in
coming into the
baseball
game.
that can be more interesting if you're a fan of the game as opposed to soccer. Here's
Like
soccer.
what? Like
Ready?
what?
Here's my impression
Name
of
one.
soccer, man.
Name one. Name one.
Because like in soccer, a 1-0 game in
Name
soccer.
one.
You
What,
watch
something
a 1-0
interesting
Yeah,
in baseball?
interesting. What?
It's the same thing.
Papelbon closing out a
The
game.
guy rubbing the
starting
mound?
pitcher
The guy
going
rubbing the mound?
9 innings.
Or 8 foul balls?
Striking out 12. Big Papi coming up to the plate and hitting a home run. Or Big Papi coming to the plate, not hitting a home run is more interesting than Major League Soccer.
At least soccer's a continuous game.
World
The
Cup
action
soccer.
never stops.
I'm confused as to what action is going on. All I see is the ball going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
You don't have to be really
Typical-
confused.
typical
I mean, it's a
American.
very simple game. I mean,
You don't
if you're
say.
confused-
If it's so simple, why aren't there more goals scored? I need some action here.
Well, that's the nature of the game. Everybody wants instant gratification. That's not
Yes.
the way soccer is.
That's where we are in the
know?
United States, and
Well-
that's why soccer, no matter what happens, will never
It
fully succeed
you are probably
in the
right there.
United
I
States.
agree with you. And
I'm
John,
not alone.
John made a good point. The United States is slowly, even though this year I have issues with the coach and everything, slowly making inroads into the World Cup. I mean,
Issues with the
it's going
coach?
to take
What
a
did the
long
coach
time.
do?
I mean, well, I
Tell
mean,
him not to kick
we
the
don't have
ball the
enough
other
time.
way?
No, there's strategies involved in soccer and everything, but people like you
Okay.
just can't understand that. You know, you got
1 week
you
I'll
got
be on
the tunnel
vacation.
vision.
I'll be on vacation.
Will you?
I'll take the
John, you wanna
sports-
do the show
I'll
with me?
take sports show on. You and John.
You know what?
John could have
It
more
might be
patience
permanent.
with you. I'll never be
sellout.
back
It
again.
might be permanent.
It's a
Phone calls. Why don't we do
vacation.
like that more often?
You and John could have a conversation about soccer till the sun goes down, which will be probably about as long as it takes to explain
It's the beautiful
soccer.
game. That's what they call it, the beautiful game.
Jen's telling us
We'll
either
keep
she
you
wants to
updated. We'll
dance
keep
or
you
she's
updated
gotta
on
wrap it
soccer.
up. It's a sports show at yahoo.com. Keep those emails coming. On
thank you
behalf
to
of
John.
John Turner, Dolphin Paul. We'll have to have him on again. He throws in a
Anytime.
little.
He's welcome anytime.
little something extra.
He's my soccer buddy.
On behalf of the Brett Myers lover, that is Dolphin Paul and John Turner, I'm Scott Cray. Thanks to Mitch and Jen for running the show. Have a great day, everybody.
Wow.
Enjoy yourselves.
You know?